What's up, everybody? It's KelseeBrianaJai here with a video on some new Kylie Cosmetics products that I picked up from her website. So she launched new brushes as well as a whole slew of concealers. So initially I wasn't going to purchase anything from the new launches because it's like, okay, I have stuff that's kind of similar that can do the same thing. But then I started seeing a lot of people saying that they just don't think that it's worth the value. They couldn't decide whether or not they wanted to get it. And when I see stuff like that, I always want to help you guys out as much as possible, my supporters, because I know that if I see other people out there feeling maybe confused as to whether or not they want to buy something, I know that you guys probably feel the same way. As you guys know, you order Kylie's stuff from her website, KylieCosmetics.com, and she has lip kits, she has eyeshadow palettes, like she has a lot of stuff at this point. Highlighters. So now she added on brushes and concealers. Let's first talk about these brushes. So the number one thing I've been seeing in a lot of people's anti-hauls and a lot of people are bashing it are her brushes, and that's because for the entire brush kit it is $360. Now mind you, while this sounds like it's a whole lot of money for Kylie Cosmetics, if you honestly look at how much brushes cost in general, pretty much that's what you're going to be paying for natural hair brushes. Now I feel like the actual problem with the price isn't actually the price, because if you look at it, it's an amazing value. If MAC did the same thing, it would probably at least cost this much, if not more. Putting your name on something always comes with consequences that I feel like her brand specifically is really suffering from. So say for instance, if she had just launched a line anonymously, I don't feel like it would be this harshly critiqued all the time, because I feel like anytime Kylie comes out with anything, it's always I'm not buying that, that's probably horrible. Even if the products actually are great, I feel like people aren't willing to give it a chance. She came out with brushes and the price point seems expensive, but in all actuality, as a brush connoisseur, it's not. For $360 you can get 16 brushes. If you look at more affordable brush options like Real Techniques or even Sonia Kashuk, sometimes those brushes can run you just as much money, and 9 times out of 10 those brushes are going to be made with synthetic hair. It's always subjective when people ask if something is affordable, because affordability means different things to different people. So as a person who has purchased very expensive brushes, I look at these brushes and say they're around the same price range as a MAC brush. In my opinion, I feel like these brushes are affordable. If you don't mind investing in your brushes, then too, you're going to move past the sticker shock and say, okay, are these brushes actually good quality? So let's delve into that. So I purchased 2 eye brushes and 1 face brush because I didn't want to make too much of an investment, especially if I didn't like it. The number 13 brush to me was very similar to a brush that I use all the time on my channel, one of my absolute favorite brushes. That is a MAC 239. The MAC 239 is a flat shader brush. It's in a dome shape and it allows me to pack on my eyeshadows very well. As you guys can see, the Kylie brush is on the bottom and the MAC brush is on the top, but you guys can see that the shape is very similar. Even though the shape is similar, I can already tell you that the Kylie brush is not as tightly compacted as the MAC brush. The Kylie brush is not as clean cut as the MAC brush. The Kylie brush, you can see like where the hairs are sticking out, and the MAC hairs are a lot smoother. Even though the frayedness of this brush doesn't look like it would be that much of a difference when applying eyeshadow, I have very sensitive eyelids, so a brush like this with unevenly cut bristles can actually irritate my eye area. Now the hairs on this brush are pretty smooth, and I feel like this could be cut a little bit cleaner. A decent amount of softness. They're not that soft, but they're not hard either. I would only use this brush when I'm wanting to do eyeshadow looks like what I did today, like a no eyeshadow deal. This is described as her tapered blending brush, and she says that you should use this brush to apply colors in the crease. So I really liked this brush. It is a very fluffy, oversized blending brush, but this allowed me to get my color in my crease blended out really fast. So on days where I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to blending my crease area, which is very rarely, because I'd like to spend a little bit of time blending my crease. I take great pride in blending my crease, but on days when I don't have time to do that, I feel like this will be great to just give me a nice wash of color and move on. And I definitely like the way that this brush is cut. I do wish that the brushes were just a little bit more tightly compacted, or either I wish that she would have added a little bit more bristles. This brush is a lot softer than the other brush. I feel like this brush is cut a lot better than the other brush. I have a few brushes that I want to compare this one to. So the main brush that I have that it reminded me of is this Wayne Goss 03 brush, and the Wayne Goss brush is a very nice fluffy brush, but as you guys can see, the Wayne Goss brush is tapered and is not as domed as the Kylie brush. You guys know my MAC 217 brush is one of my absolute favorite brushes, and as you guys can see, the Kylie brush is way oversized in comparison to the MAC brush. I feel like they serve two different purposes. The MAC brush is definitely going to give me a more precise blend. I have my Tom Ford blending brush. This one is the number 13 brush. Again, this one is an oversized blending brush, but in comparison to the Kylie brush, it's still a lot more tapered. And then lastly, I have a MAC 224 brush, which is way more slenderized than the Kylie brush, and the shape just isn't the same. I feel like out of all three of the brushes that I bought, this one is probably my favorite. Then the last brush that I have is the number 3 brush, and this one is the medium tapered brush, and I really like brushes like this to apply my highlight or like maybe like a light blush application. The softness is okay. I prefer a little bit of a softer brush than this, but it's not bad. It's not scratchy at all. The cut of the brush again is not that precise, but I have a brush that I really adore. This one is my Wayne Goss 02 brush. I use this brush all the time. It's a taper brush. As you all can see, this brush is a lot smaller than the Kylie Jenner brush, but it has the same like idea, and this brush is a lot softer. I have my MAC brush that I use all the time. This one is a MAC 138 brush, and this brush is a lot bigger. Overall shape has the same idea, but the MAC brush is more precisely cut than the Kylie brush, and I think that you guys can see that a little bit more apparently with the bigger brushes. Overall, I feel like her brushes are okay. The handles are decently weighted, but if I'm going to pick between these and like the brushes that I already showed you or MAC brushes, enough with Kylie's brushes. Let's move on to her concealer. So here's the packaging for the concealer, really cute. So the description on her website says the Kylie Cosmetics Skin Concealer is a lightweight formula that provides medium buildable coverage for a skin-like finish. The long-wearing concealer, available in an all-inclusive range of 30 shades, gives a luminous finish that looks just like your skin and is ideal for all skin types. The buildable formula allows you to achieve your desired level of coverage. Wear alone for a natural dewy look or pair with your favorite setting powder for a matte finish. Perfect for spot concealing, lightening dark circles under the eyes, and hiding imperfections. The Paddle Flock applicator makes application easy, and in each container there is 0.11 fluid ounces of product or 3.25 grams of product. So Kylie has 30 different concealers, which is really nice, and she has categorized them by 5s. So the first 5 are in the fair category, the next 5 are in the light category, the next 5 are in the medium category. Following that is the tan category. 5 more in the deep category, and then the last 5 are in the deep dark category. So I purchased a concealer from the medium category based on her swatches that she provided on either Snapchat or Instagram. That color is totally too light for me. As you guys can see, the packaging is clear so you can see how much product you're using. Packaging of it I think is really cute. I have the color Oak, which is 3rd in line in the medium lineup, and I definitely feel like I could have either gotten Amber or Cedar. The consistency of this concealer reminded me a lot of the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer mixed a little bit with the Tarte Shape Tape. And when I applied it, I didn't really need a lot. Here's the applicator. I love applicators like this. I feel like it allows you to get the perfect amount of product, and I feel like with this type of applicator you won't over apply. Main thing that I like about this concealer is that it is easily blendable, so I feel like I didn't have to tug under my eye. It did dry down to look a little bit drier underneath my eyes. Not anything too bad. I used the beauty blender to apply it, but when I initially applied it, I liked the way it looked more than when it dried down. And in comparison to Tarte Shape Tape for me is going to win because Shape Tape has that hydrating element to it that really helps combat the thickness of the product. So with Shape Tape, I'm getting the hydration as well as getting a lot of coverage, and with this one I feel like I'm getting a lot of coverage and initial moisture, but then it dries down and I feel like it just kind of negates that. So I feel like this concealer is just okay. It's not a bad product, but if you have drier under eyes, I don't feel like you will love it. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the application of me using these products. That way you can get a feel of how they work. So I'm gonna use the brushes when I do my makeup and you'll see that, and then I'm going to apply the concealer and you'll see how that applies. So I'm going to take the number 15 brush and dust some eyeshadows on my lid. So I'm going to start with Makeup Geek Tan Lines, and I'm just going to dust this in my crease. Now I'm just going to take some eyeshadows from the Tom Ford Golden Mink eyeshadow quad and the Kylie number 13 brush. Same brush, I'm going to take this color. I'll apply my eyeshadow pretty good. So now I'm going to finish off my eye look, and then I'll be back and we'll do concealer together. So I have the color Oak in the concealer. So I'm going to start out just applying it here. It looks a little bit light, you know, like a good 2 shades too light. I'm going to blend this out with my beauty blender. I think that it looks good aside from the color though. It's very creamy. It almost feels a little nourishing. So I'm going to take a little bit of the Laura Mercier translucent powder. So I do see a little bit more of my fine lines than I normally do with my concealer. But I'm going to go ahead and finish off the rest of my face, and then I'll be back to show you guys what everything looks like all together. I have my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Volume 3 palette. So I'm going to take this right here. This is the finishing powder in Dim Light. And I'm just going to sweep this. While I have it out, I'm just going to go ahead and use this blush. This one is the blush in Surreal Halo. And dust that. Everything turned out pretty decent. I definitely can see the fine lines underneath my eyes. Now, is it bad? No. But do I have other products that I feel like do a much better job for a similar price point? Yes. Am I going to be reaching for this concealer? Probably not. I probably am going to pass it along to one of my friends. I just feel like my under eye doesn't look as smooth as it normally does. I think that it's a decent concealer. I think that it definitely covered up. It did the job. It looks okay. I think that the brushes are cute. I feel like the brushes meet their intended purposes, and I feel like that they do a decent job. If you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. That way you get more videos from me on a regular basis, and you keep up with me in this vast atmosphere of all these beautiful YouTubers. And I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Smooches. Bye.